Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. Today I have what hopefully will be an interesting video to you all. I put together a spreadsheet recently. There's so much talk ongoing of PSA's backlog, and there's kind of a lot of assumptions and speculation as to what may be in their backlog. Certain things are fairly obvious, but unfortunately that's something that nobody aside from PSA really knows. There's no way to know what everyone has in there. For myself, though, I decided that I was going to go in and find out exactly what I had. I kind of threw a lot of cards into the void over the past year, just knowing where we were headed. And I mean, we're there now. PSA shut down at all service levels below $300 a card. And this kind of summarizes it, this table. I'll expand out to kind of show you some select cards of each era, what makes them up. I thought about doing a video where I just went through, I mean, you can see right here, I submitted 4,862 cards. Well, that's not how many I submitted, that's how many are still there. I've gotten several hundred back. If you've been following my YouTube, I've had quite a few returns recently, and so 4,862 is what's still there today as I post this video. But in any case, my personal breakdown, my personal backlog, I have 2,313 what I define as modern cards. I guess I'll just define how I broke down modern, mid-era, and vintage. These terms are fairly common, I think. Everyone might have slightly different definitions, so I'll just describe to you the way I did mine. XY base to current is what I use to define modern. So that's roughly late 2013 to current. That's around a 8-year time period. I tried making it so the three chunks were relatively equal in duration. The mid era, old school EX, so like EX Ruby and Sapphire, all the way to the end of black and white legendary treasures. That starts at mid 2003 to late 2013. And then vintage, I went all the way back. I have some Japanese base there. So 1996 to mid 2003, you've got an 8-year period, a 10-year period, and a 7-year period. And interestingly enough, not really surprising though, I only have 495 cards in the backlog from the largest, the 10-year window. And one thing I'll do as I break down what I have there from each era, I'll kind of, this is my backlog. I'll kind of adjust it to what I assume is the total Pokemon backlog. I think that I am heavy in certain eras, heavy in certain specific cards that aren't really representative of what's there. And honestly, these numbers were interesting. I'm about 50% modern, 10% mid eras, and 40% vintage. I think the modern and vintage are, I mean, they're fairly close, and it's hard to know how representative that would be. I think there would be a heavier slant, probably fairly substantially heavier slant towards modern overall. How much, it's really hard to say, but I might be wrong here. I honestly was surprised to see that I had 10% in the middle eras. I think that overall there wouldn't be that much. I think it would even be less than 10%. I'd be interested if anyone has any comments to share their own data on this, if they think that there would be more than 10% of that, if people think 90% of the backlog's modern or 90% of it's vintage. It would just be really interesting to hear your thoughts as you watch this, compared to what my backlog is, what my assumptions are about the overall backlog, and how they compare. If anyone else is tracking this data, part of the reason I made this video, I've not really seen anyone share too much specifically about, I've seen people share quantities, but not so much detailed breakdowns of what eras of cards and what specific cards are there. in any case, I've rambled on for a little bit now. Let's get into the actual, not a complete breakdown, but let's get into the breakdown as I laid it out. I kind of took some certain cards of interest. So you'll see, we'll start with modern. Down at the bottom here, you'll notice that I didn't include it in the 4,862, but I do have about 200 packs there and 300 coins. I just included it because they're also there in the backlog, but not too interesting to most people. I wouldn't assume. The packs are primarily modern with Charizards, or I sent some generations, some hidden fates, some popular Pokemon artworks, evolutions, and then coins. I just sent a lot of same thing, popular species. I just sent some of the theme deck coins and some of the tin coins. But yeah, getting to our modern breakdown, I was surprised here. I knew I had a lot of Scream promos. I pretty much sent out everything I had that was worth grading. I have 101 Scream promos, 0 of which are Mimikyu, 4 of which are Pikachu. I assume the Pikachus are not mint. If they were mint, I probably would have sent them at a higher service level. But yeah, so 101 Rowlet, Eevee, Psyduck are the 3 common ones. You can see that I have about 32, 33 sets of those, along with the 4 Pikachus. One thing that was interesting to me, that I didn't do it for everything, but I wrote down what the current pop report is showing for some of these. So like each Eevee, Rowlet, and Psyduck roughly have about 1,500 each in the pop. So my 33 sets of each are representative of about 2% of the current population. So my own contribution, if the population were to stop moving right now and all of mine were graded at once, I would increase the pop alone by 2%. I think that's fairly significant for one, relatively speaking, small submitter. In the grand scheme of things, I'm probably in a pretty high percentile as far as like individual Pokemon submitters, having nearly 5,000 cards myself. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm much smaller than the big businesses and certain other individuals who have tens of thousands or 10,000 plus at least. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting to me. One card that I also looked up is Champions Festivals. A lot of these are foreign. I didn't realize in the past that you could actually grade the foreign Champions Festivals, because it used to be base set was the only set that PSA would grade in multiple languages. But for whatever reason, I don't remember the specifics, or maybe it's something that changed relatively recently, but I sent out the French, Portuguese, Italian, all the languages that come in those sealed packs that the world's participants get. I sent them all out for grading because they were all, I mean, I opened them from packs to get the English and Japanese to grade years ago. And I sent out all of my foreign ones that I just had in binders in the meantime. So of my 167 festivals, 20 are stamped. And I actually go right here into the exact breakdown. I surprised myself, kind of forgotten that I had sent in a semifinalist. It might have been in a little bit rougher condition, but that's probably a card that is going to get hit by an upcharge. But yeah, there's a semifinalist. So there's a 2014 quarterfinalist, 2 2017s, 2 2018s, and 2 2016s. Looks like I really don't have much 15s, but I do have, I guess I have 2 top 32 2015s. And then the regular ones, that's just the unstamped. That's the one that not just, or yeah, that's the one that all the competitors get, not just the placing competitors. So these are the unstamped ones down here. I had 6 of 2018. I actually attended 2018 and 2019. That's why I have so many more. I was buying packs from competitors at the event. So yeah, that's let me get these minimized. That's the breakdown of Scream promos and Champions Festivals. So staff cards, I sent all my Charizards, Lugias, and Yeah, Charizards and Lugias from Vivid Voltage. Those all went a higher service level. I have all those back already. The 23 staff cards break down into 18 of them are from Vivid Voltage. I want to say that 9 are Snorlax and 9 are Donphin. I got around 9 packs, or I think I got around 12 to 13 staff packs. So the remainder would have went to CGC. And this whole video that I'm doing, this is PSA specific. This has nothing to do with my cards at CGC. I have over 5,000 cards also at CGC. But the other non-modern staff cards, I actually do have 3 2012 and 1 2011 Tropical Beach. And then I have 1 2014 Champions Festival. They're staff stamped. And then another interesting card. I kind of assumed I would have had more than this, but I graded so many in the past. I have 24 Reds Pikachus there. In the 3 years approximately since that card has come out, there's been 2,500 graded. So I'm adding 1% to that. And a lot of these cards too, if you go to like Pokemon Price or if you go to PSA, if you look at the trend on the populations, a lot of these are still in the upswing. They haven't had an inflection point headed down. They're still in that growth period, and these pops are going to grow a lot. Because again, I'm contributing 1 to 2 alone. 1 to 2% alone of what's there now, and I'm one of many who have a lot of these cards in the backlog. One thing that was interesting to me that I think I'm disproportionately like low on compared to what's in the backlog, I only have 193 cards from Evolutions at PSA. Some amount of those will be just Charmanders. I sent a handful of Charmanders, Pikachus, and then the secret rare, the Executor, Flying Pikachu, Surfing Pikachu, but a handful of these are reverse holo and holo Charizards as well. I sent a bunch of Megas, some of the non-Charizard full arts, and sent a handful of those too, but that I think I'm fairly low on relative to the overall backlog, I would guess. And then Hidden Fates, I think I sent 2 Shiny Vault sets roughly, and then maybe some oddball. So a couple hundred Hidden Fates cards, 239. I think I'm again low there, representative to what like the overall Pokemon backlog is. And then 2 interesting promos that I just decided to look at: Special Delivery Pikachu and Shining Lugia. Shining Lugia was the one that came in the I actually have it right here. Came in the Shining Legends Super Premium Collection. Right there. Right there. That card is, there's about 1,300 pop, and I sent in 24 of them. So again, you're looking at, I'm in the 2% range on adding to the pop there. And I think I had Special Delivery Pikachu. I believe there's about 2,500 of them graded. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm kind of shocked. That's only been out for 6 to 8 months or so. I'm shocked how many people spent so much money getting them through, like Express. I sent most of mine bulk because I didn't realize it was gonna go so crazy so quick as it did. And I mean, that card's coming back down quite a bit now. So I think I'll make out fine. They were all free included in my orders back then, but those were just interesting ones I wanted to pull out. I couldn't remember how many I had there. So there's my modern backlog. Now mid-era. Let me see if I can expand the right one. So mid-era, this is old school EX to black and white. I had 8 tropical beaches there total. We saw above 3 of them were staff stamped. I guess I accidentally included the tropical beaches in current or in modern and mid-era potentially, but of my 495 cards, and this doesn't expand on all of them, but 174 of them were from the EX era, 114 were from the black and white era. So whatever the remainder of that would be your Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. One interesting thing I found, I like all of these EX era, they're not EXs, they're not gold stars. Exactly 0 of them are gold stars. And I put right here an estimation. About 75% are EX era hollows. I believe I did send an entire EX era hollow. So every regular hollow rare from EX Ruby and Sapphire to Dragon Frontiers or whatever the last one was. I believe I sent a complete set. I might have had some duplicates here and there. Some amount of them were some of the more, I had a handful of mint reverse hollows. Some of them were the more desirable Pokemon. I know I had like a reverse hollow Crystal Guardians Charizard in there. And then 5% might have been some of the lower tier. I mean, if I'd had Charizard EXs, Lugia EXs, those would have went in a higher tier. I'd probably have those back by now, but these were all bulk. So I could have the oddball, I mean, 5% of that. There might be 6 to 10 just lower tier old school EXs. So at least for me, those pops aren't going to go up significantly. I don't think they're going to go up significantly from anybody, just what I've seen, collections that I've bought. And then with Black and White era, I did send a handful of, not a complete set of all the Black and White era hollows, but I sent a bunch of them that I had pack fresh mint, a lot of the better Pokemon, and about 10% were ultra rares, full arts, EXs, again, the more desirable things. I don't track those markets too much. There could be certain ones that I get dinged on. Some of those full arts are really hard to hit 10s, and I think they get decent prices. So if I hit 10s on some of the good ones, I could get dinged on upcharges there. But it's kind of a weird thing with upcharges. You don't want to have to pay more to get them graded, but if you're paying more, I mean, generally that means you hit something worth quite a bit. So it's like a bittersweet thing. And then lastly, breaking down my vintage thing, I was surprised to see that I had 3 Masakis there. I actually I assumed they were just Omastars or Machamps, some of the lower tier ones, lower condition. 2 of them were Gengar, and then I believe the other was Machamp. I assumed they were in lower condition, just like played ones that I had kicking around that somehow made it into bulk. But about, 445 of these were from base set. I do know that one of those, well, not one of those, it would have been 17 to 102, so it would have been 80 something cards of that 445 was a complete non-hollow base set first edition. Near mint, I wouldn't say pack fresh, but PSA 7 and 9 probably, most of them, maybe get a couple oddball 10s. And then aside from that, you've got a lot of shadowless and base unlimited starters. There's going to be a lot of Charmanders, Bulbasaur, Squirtles, Charmanders especially because he was in the theme deck and the 2-player starter set. So I had 50 plus of those might be Charmanders. Jungle, a lot of Pikachus, a lot of Eevees. I did recently get a return. Anyone who watched it, I had 5, I believe it was 5 of every common and uncommon, non-hollow rare. I don't have that much more there. If I could go back, one of the things I wanted to tie into this video, if I could go back to last May when some of these orders are from, one of the main things I would add would be more common and uncommon, not just jungle, fossil, base, unlimited, but I would add, like I've got a handful on my eBay right now, Neo Destiny, Neo Discovery, Gym Heroes, Gym Challenge, and those PSA 9s are selling $40 to $80 a piece. And some of the PSA, well, I guess maybe 30 to 60. The Pikachu and Eevee are a little over 100, but most of them fall in the 30 to 60 range. And then in PSA 10, I mean, you're talking 50, 52. I mean, the Pikachu and Eevee are still 300 plus. So, I mean, I would have just sent everything I had. If I could have them back in my hands right now, those are doing well today. I don't anticipate they'll be doing amazing in a year or two, because I think even though I didn't do a ton of it, I think that I'm like maybe disproportionately low in some of that stuff. I think there were people sending heaps and heaps of these through the end of last year, and they'll be coming out over the next year or two as PSA works through this backlog. And I wrote here about 90% of all of this was non-hollow. Fossil, interestingly, I only had 7 cards there. There's not really any standout non-hollow rare or non-hollow commons and uncommons to submit. So I believe all 7 of my fossil cards were hollows, actually. A couple of them were unlimited. Most of them were first edition, probably lesser conditions, not like pack fresh. But about 10% of the base set and 10% of the jungle would have been hollows. First edition, unlimited, a mix of both. Base set wouldn't have been any first edition hollows, but unlimited hollows. Japanese base, there's a handful of hollows, but primarily non-hollows. I didn't send full sets of Japanese base, though again, if I could go back, I would have, because I believe any PSA 10 Japanese, even commons, are like 50 plus, and I mean, paying $7.50 a piece to grade them, that would have been a good margin, good business. But in any case, that is the breakdown of my backlog at PSA. And another tab here that I'll just show quickly. This is a breakdown of when they were sent. So I sent 200 cards. Again, this isn't what I sent. This is what's still out there. I sent many more than this. In some of these, like I've gotten already 600 cards back from May. I've gotten a little bit back from June, but what's still out there? 200 from last May, 400 from last June. I really picked up in July. I got 1,500 cards out. And then I took a break. After that. I sent 1,200 more in November, 950 more in December. I really anticipated a significant increase on January 1st. And I think a lot of other people did. It didn't come along. So in January and February, I only got out 409 and 200 more cards. And then March, I believe it was March 1st, they basically doubled their bulk price from 10 to 20. And I didn't submit anything in March. And then, as we all know, they received more in March than they had in the month prior, and 3 days more than the 3 months prior. And then they shut down. And that's where we stand today. So one thing I want to do with some of this, and one thing I want to talk about in a future video, probably a spreadsheet with some charts and some almost projecting when I expect to get some of these cards back. I think a lot of people have unrealistic expectations as to when the cards will be coming back, because you can see here, my submissions were not linear. Mine actually peaked in mid to late 2020. So I'm actually atypical there, because if you were to take PSA's total submissions, this would have been an increasing line, and not linearly increasing. I think exponentially increasing through the end of March. So I disproportionately sent early, which is good. I mean, that means I'll be getting the cards back theoretically earlier than other people. But yeah, I do plan to do a follow-up video kind of projecting when I might see some of these back. We don't have firm numbers. Like, I have firm numbers on what I submitted. Nobody has, as far as I know, firm numbers on what exactly PSA received. But if you go back through their emails, some of their official press releases, some of their official statements from the CEO or the president, they do say we received this many in this period, which was double this, triple that. So you can you can't get firm numbers, but you can kind of estimate, and that's what I plan to do in a future video. So long video, a little bit of rambling there. If anyone's stuck around this long and they have like specific requests, I didn't really want to spend, it took me 25 minutes just to do what I did. I didn't want to spend an hour going through a 4,000 line spreadsheet. I don't think anyone's going to care enough to go through and pause and see exactly every card that I sent. But if you want to know how many of some specific card I sent, or if I sent any of them, feel free to leave a comment, send me an email, whatever. I'm open. I mean, I'm sharing all this. I'm willing to share whatever else that might interest you. So feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And I will catch you all later.